Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Membership Voice. I'm Caro O'Shea, the coordinator of The Voice and the host for this evening's webinar. Very special welcome to our guest, Hamish Jones, passionate Rotarian, skilled technologist, and a guy who's helping to reposition Rotary clubs for a much brighter future. Welcome back, Hamish, for your second webinar. How are you going?
I'm excellent, Caro. Thanks for having me back again. I'm glad to hear that there was some value in the last presentation we did, and that we'll come back and have a little bit more talk about how we can use AI tools to streamline some of the stuff we need to do it as Rotarians, so we can focus on the important stuff, the service projects, the reason we all joined Rotary in the first place. As much as I personally love social media and technology in an area I work, I know that most Rotarians didn't join Rotary to make a Facebook post, but clubs do start to recognise that the Facebook pages are especially in metro areas, Facebook pages are an important part of the public image and the PR. We don't have local papers in the same way we used to, but yeah, so hopefully I can help some of the Rotarians here with some ideas from themselves and to take back to clubs and anyone watching later on, just to show a way to make it a little bit easier and give a little bit more consistency to promote clubs, promote projects, and ultimately get more members so we can create more impact as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hamish. Come back to you in a moment. At first things first, though, it's important for me personally at this stage to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land that I'm hosting tonight's webinar on. I acknowledge the strength of their continuing culture and offer my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Hamish is an experienced business owner and technology consultant with over 20 years of expertise. He specialises in telecommunications, digital transformation, and AI integration for SMEs and not for profits. As a passionate Rotarian, Hamish dedicates his time to community building and improving the operational efficiency of Rotary clubs through innovative solutions. Hence tonight. He serves as the Public Image Chair for Rotary District 9790, as a past president of the Rotary Club of Strathmore. His mission is to help clubs leverage modern technology, such as AI, to boost productivity, streamline administrative tasks, and maximise community impact. So here we go. Over to you, please, Hamish.
Thank you, Caro. Thank you for that introduction. Yes, so as Caro said, I'm Hamish. I am from the Rotary Club of Strathmore. I am a 10-year Rotarian, and we're here tonight to talk about leveraging AI for social media. So I'm just going to share my screen. The way I'm sort of going to structure this process tonight is I'm going to go through a couple of slides just to give a bit of background first on what I'm sort of hoping to cover in this presentation, and then from there we'll actually do some live prompting in ChatGPT. That's the tool I use. There are obviously other tools out there that you can use for AI. I'm going to use ChatGPT just as an example because it is probably the most popular one out there. And then from there, like I said, we'll go through some of the prompts so you can see how quickly some of that could be done, and hopefully it inspires you to take some of this back for your own club and your own usage. So just a bit about me to cover off. I know Caro mentioned a lot of it, so I will mention just touch on this briefly again, just to make sure. I do have, I am overqualified. My wife tells me sometimes I have two master's degrees. I have an MA in communication, so I studied PR first, and I also have an MBA, which is where I did a lot of my study in business processes and operations, and a lot of the fascination from technology comes from there as well. I joined the Rotary Club of Strathmore in 2014 after coming back from a group study exchange program overseas. So I was inspired by the wider world of Rotary. That was after a very long time. My previous experience of Rotary was in primary school, in my primary school band, playing Christmas carols at the local Rotary Christmas party. So then there was a hefty gap of about 30 years between that and doing the group study exchange program. Joined in Strathmore as soon as I got back, and haven't looked back. It's been a great experience and one I look forward to continuing. I play lawn bowls in my very little spare time, but I don't do that as often anymore because I've just been recently elected to local council. So between running a business, being an active Rotarian, and being a local councillor, as you can imagine, there's not much time left in my day. So that's why I focus a lot on these tools like AI to leverage my own impact because it's about time. It's not about replacing yourself, but it is about saving time and being as effective as you can be with the limited resources that you do have. So, in this sort of presentation over the next sort of 15 to 20 minutes, it is a short presentation, and then I hope to have a lot of questions afterwards. Hopefully, I give you some inspiration to ask some questions. I like to keep these presentations short, mainly because I like to show how quickly this stuff can actually be done when you get started. It's not about taking too long or being too time consuming. The whole point of this presentation is to show you that things like this aren't time consuming and they do save you time. So you can focus on other things, but still get the important stuff done. So we're going to cover a few different things tonight. We're going to cover creating a content calendar for your month. So I know a lot of the problems that through conversations I've had with clubs, both in my own district and more as I've been talking more widely about AI and content creation. One of the big problems that club members tell me, whether it's the president, whether it's the secretary, whether it's the public image coordinator at club level, if they have one, is that they don't know what to talk about. So we're going to use this as a tool to show what you can talk about and how you can sort of create a month's worth of content ideas in a few minutes. From there, we'll touch on an example post. So once you give some ideas to go more in depth into that post and how you can use, again, AI to create some of the ideas from there. And then sort of after that, we're going to go more specifically, so not just your general monthly calendar, talk about an event calendar. So promoting events that your club has, and this is important for a lot of clubs because I've seen too many examples of clubs talking about how great an event was after the fact, but they haven't taken the time to promote the event as well as they could have by promoting it in advance to get more people at the event as well. So we're going to create an event marketing calendar and then again some example posts of the types of things you might put in there just to save some time and make sure the posts get out there and published in a timely manner. Yeah, so we'll go into that's obviously coming later, the post-event survey. We'll jump onto ChatGPT now and get some of this stuff sorted. Sorry, I should have closed some of those things on my screen beforehand. So here's ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one of the big AI tools out there. It's one of the most commonly ones available. I use that myself. I use this every day through business and through other things. Google has their own called Gemini. Microsoft has Copilot as part of their Office 365 platform. There's other ones run by Facebook. Elon Musk has his own AI platform, Grok, as well, and there are other ones. Each of them have, their own benefits, their own downfalls. It's really a matter of, choosing the one that best suits you and making and playing around with them. But if you don't really care which one to start with and you're just happy to look, I'd suggest just touching with ChatGPT because that's probably the best all-rounder for most of the tasks you're going to use it for. So we'll start with coming up with a monthly social media calendar. So the idea here is just to come up with a month's worth of ideas and when to spread them out. You can batch content with social media. So if you come up with this month's worth of ideas, Facebook, which also owns Instagram, so the Meta Business Suite is a tool where you can actually pre-schedule these posts for an entire month as well. So if you're going to sit down and come up with a month's worth of general content, you can sit down and do that in a very short period of time, knowing that that content is then going to sort you out over the whole month. It's going to be there. It's going to, you don't have to remember to come back and post it another time. It's just going to be there when you need it. And um, you can get ideas for posts through ChatGPT. You don't necessarily even need to know what you're talking about. It can be as simple as creating a prompt, putting in there. So I'm just going to show you an example prompt that I have used, and I'll sort of explain it before I hit enter, um, and what each of the parts different mean. You don't need to copy this down now. I will, through Kero, share all these prompts so you can get them at after the meeting, and you can use them at a later date when you need to. So I'll just sort of read it and then explain why it's in this sort of process. So our goal here is to create a 4-week content calendar for our Rotary Club's social media. And what we want, and the return we want, is a series of engaging posts aligned with our themes. And here's just some examples of posts you might use. If you don't know what posts to write about, you can actually ask ChatGPT what you should write about. But I just a couple of examples like a member spotlight, event promotion, impact stories. Um, a warning, that's just sort of, we want to say that it's appropriate for Rotary audience and aligns with Rotary's mission, and context, just more background information that you might want to put in there. So, Rotary's themes of service, fellowship, education, and we want posts for the next 4 weeks. So I'll just show you how quickly that comes out, and then I'll explain a bit more about what each part of that prompt might mean. So as you can see, within seconds, it's coming up with um, these week's one's worth of posts, a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday suggestion. As I scroll down, um, you got week two. Again, Monday, suggesting a fellowship focus, educational posts, talking about Rotarians, fighting polio, and then, looking for volunteers for an event. Um, Week three, and week four. As you can see, within minutes, it's come up with a month's worth of post. And obviously, there's some gaps in there that you'll need to fill in yourself, and that's important to think about. It's not completely replacing the work there, but instead of having to remember to write a post, come up with the ideas and come up with the days, it's given you an opportunity to sort of batch that post over the month, so that you're saving a lot of time. You can get it up there. You can worry about it later on, and get back to focusing on so your favorite service project, the other things you want to do, the reasons you joined Rotary in the first place. I'll just go through a bit about what the some of the prompt stuff means, and why we sort of put it there, just so it makes a bit more sense. So um, it's important to, with AI, to know that it sort of works on context. It needs to know what you really want to achieve and why. The more information you can give it, the better results you're going to get. And you can do that in one or two ways. You can try and do that by putting a little bit more effort into your first prompt for the output. And this is something that I'm just using an example tonight. For your own club, you might add more information. Like the context is to give more specific information. So, I just generally themes related to Rotary, but your content in your context section of your own prompts, you might talk more about your club, what your club focuses on, particular projects that your club has, particular things that you're more interested about, where you're located, how many members you've got, where you meet, any sort of thing there. The idea of the warning is just to tell um, ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you use what you don't want to occur. Like, so you don't want to, like if there's particular posts you don't want to talk about, we don't want to use Rotary acronyms. We all know there are too many Rotary acronyms, so it's trying to keep it simple and make sure it's not saying things that wouldn't look good for your audience. Having said that, there's always a caveat that you should still check the content that comes out of ChatGPT. You shouldn't just copy and paste it without verifying anything, just to make sure. The goal just is sort of the overall what you want to achieve there. So obviously we wanted a 4-week content calendar, and then just sort of talking about the return is the idea that what the actual output you want there. So in this case, we did ask for sort of the generic 4 weeks worth of posts and the themes there. So, and that's what it gave me. So that's why I sort of have the goal, how I want it, sort of the return, what I don't want it to say, just to sort of keep it on track, and then a little bit more information to get better results from the first time. Now you could read through that, yeah, give it some changes. You can edit that prompt and add your own things in there, and I would suggest you would. But I think this one's a good starting point for a club if you are stuck and you don't know where to start. Have a play around with it for 1 month, 2 months, see through conversation what you think might change and what you think might suit you, and from there you can tailor your own messages for your own club, give it your own club's voice, so make sure it works better for you. It's just, I would encourage you just to get started. That's the most important thing. So next, I want to sort of move on to like a an example of a more in-depth post. So you can see the output there. It's some fairly sort of short posts, just as an example starting point. But this first one is a member spotlight. Let's say we do want to do more member spotlights. We can start with that one there, but we'll go a bit more in depth if that's the day that we're going to do it. So I've written an example prompt again. This is sort of a fictional Rotary member. I just came up with a name and wrote this before, so we can do it in the same chat. We don't need to go to a new window. You can just keep the conversation going. So I'm talking about an individual post now. So you've come up with your content calendar, but you might want to go a bit more in depth into someone. So now we're going to write a social media post doing a member spotlight. We're going to highlight one of our Rotary members. Now, in this case, the Rotary member is Sarah Jones, and we want to talk about what she's done for the club, how passionate she is, and just a little bit of information. She's a 10-year. She's been involved in 10 clean water projects, and she loves skydiving. So a little bit of personal information as well. We just want to again make sure the post is accurate and double check details. So if it's one thing to know is that ChatGPT, if you have a paid account, it's $20 US a month, and I find that value for me. You might decide as a club it's worth it. It's not. If you do have the paid account, it can search the web for you, so it can gather extra information. But I think it's important to, if you're going to search the web, to add a warning like make sure details are accurate, just so it doesn't start searching for a different Sarah Jones, and it'll check to make sure it's talking about the same one if it's trying to grab stuff off the web. And again, the context, just talk a little bit more about what Sarah's done. So I'll just show you again how quickly we can get a post from that. Yeah, so it's given a little bit more detail, a little bit more about what she does there. Again, it's just the starting point, and about how you can tailor a post like this. You can add all your own information, make it a bit more personalized. But it's I find, and a lot of the people I've gone through similar discussions with and activities with, find that having something on paper is a better starting point than wondering what to write in the first place. So that's why they sort of find value there. But the real sort of leverage that a lot of clubs have found is not just the idea of writing the post. It's thinking about what pictures they should put with the post, what information they should put with it. So as a continuation of this sort of prompt and this sort of idea, you might ask something as similar as what sort of pictures should I put with a post like this? And just to get some ideas of the type of photos you might put up there. And again, you'll see in a second, you'll come up with different ideas. So, an action shot. So if you've got a shot, hopefully you've got a shot of Sarah, doing work in the past at one of these projects she's passionate about, or hopefully she does that she can share. Um, a personality shot that might be, we mentioned that she was interested in skydiving. If she's got a photo of that, something Rotary related where she might be speaking at a club. So it just gives people ideas of the types of photos that they can use and where to use it. Now, this is good if you already have the photos, but it's still good if you don't, because it gives you ideas, of the types of photos you should be collecting going forward. So in this case, we've done a profile on Sarah, but in future, like you look at that, if you look at that and go, okay, well, we don't have these sorts of photos for other club members, it can give whoever's responsible for the social media or whoever wants to some ideas of the types of photos to take and store going forward, I mean, I know that the Rotary Branding Centre has a lot of good resources available, but let's face it, for me in Melbourne, Victoria, there aren't a huge number of Australian focused images in there, and I'd much rather have photos of my own club members anyway on our social media because I think that gives a better representation of our club and is a better message to put out there when you're sort of looking to do these social media posts. So again, it's just another example of how quickly you can come up with some ideas of things you may not have thought of. And even if you were going to think of them, like a lot of them are pretty obvious if you think about them after the fact, but it's amazing how hard some of these things can be when you're sitting there with a blank canvas thinking, well, what am I going to talk about today and how am I going to do it? So I think it's about having these sorts of conversations and just going through it and then going back through your whole conversation, grabbing all the stuff you want and putting it together for your own social media. I hope, the first couple of times you play around with Chat GPT, yes, it might take some time. Yes, it takes to get a bit of getting used to, but I hope you can see that long term there's a lot of value there in terms of how it can, once you start using it and you get used to using it more often, if you're not using it already, how it can streamline that process going forward. So again, I wanted to the next step was to talk about some of the event promotion because, like I mentioned, sort of in the intro, there's a lot of clubs that are very good at posting photos of events after the fact, but not necessarily using social media as effectively in promoting their event and getting content out there beforehand to try and get more people to the event. So I think that's something that's worth looking at as well. So again, I got another prompt that I prepared earlier. Just a reminder, I will share all these prompts afterwards and some more resources. So there's no need to copy and paste it now, but just again, because we're talking about same social media and just to give more context, um, ChatGPT can read everything that's been there previously. So if you're talking about social media, it's probably worth keeping it in the same conversation. It doesn't necessarily, especially with a free account, remember from conversation to conversation, but whilst you've still got it in the same chat, it is going to remember what you've talked about. It's going to sort of read up from what you've talked about before. So same sort of format. So this one for events, we're going to do a few different posts. So I would sort of recommend, 4 weeks before the event, an announcement post, which is the one we're doing here. Um, then you do, a couple of weeks beforehand, you might introduce your speaker and then sort of create some urgency beforehand as well. So we'll go through just quick examples of some of the output you might get. So in this one, we want to create an announcement for the event. It's a clean water fundraiser. Date, description, save the date, and then just a couple of names in context. So the event's a clean water fundraiser, the date December 15th, and it's raising funds for local water projects. So again, I'll just show you what happens when I hit enter. And again, it's short and sweet, and you can insert your ticket detail link there or whatever details it is to RSVP, whether it's email. If you've got your own flyer, you can attach that as an image on Facebook, so you've got an image there as well. Or if you don't have that flyer, you can ask again, like I showed you earlier, ask ChatGPT what images you should put there, and if it's got anything it can recommend, have that sort of conversation. Next, I'll sort of go through a a speaker introduction post, just as another example of what you might do a couple of weeks out from the event, just to sort of give more momentum towards the event. So, talking about the same event, um, let's say we've got um, our guest speaker is someone called Dr. Lee, and so we want to create a post highlighting Dr. Lee's expertise and speaking at the Clean Water Fundraiser, and that he's an expert in sustainable water solutions. So again, just an example of how that post comes out. I mean, it's a simple layout, but it's done it in a matter of seconds, and say like these may all seem like very short savings of time comparatively to what it would be if you typed it out. But if you think about it as a cumulative impact, and going back to the first sort of prompt we showed, that was a month's worth of content in minutes. And yes, if you go in, you're going to go in and tweak and edit stuff and make it relevant to your own club. But at the end of the day, it is saving some significant time each week, each month, if you're using this as a tool or as a starting point. And then, just another example there before. We move on to the next part of the presentation, just showing, what might be, another post as part of this event calendar is, you know, we're creating a last call for the event, only 7 days left. And again, just reminding people what the event is that you're promoting and the output that will come. And again, you can see it's giving you that sort of layout, some fun emojis which sort of come off the page and sort of create that visually appealing thing. It sort of stops people as they're scrolling through social media. Again, you can add your event image or something there, or ask, ask ChatGPT if it's got any ideas. I just wanted to show one thing though. Like I've talked about some different event stuff there based on a schedule that I'd sort of come up with, but let's say you don't know how you should promote the event and you want to have an idea. I just want to show you how a conversation with ChatGPT might work in that situation. So let's say that you know I have to promote a Rotary event and want to make sure I have a big attendance. What sort of should put on our social media? And just like ask ChatGPT for advice. So it'll give you an idea, and again come through some of this. Um, it'll give you the example of each of the posts. So yeah, 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out. Um, and this one's even giving you the image selection. So it's giving you information as a starting point. Um, and you can see how quickly it's all doing that. Like these are things that um, I'll just let it finish. Like all these sorts of extra posts, like what to expect. So, people are leaving to last minute. They might not know what they're coming to. These are sorts of things that you might think about on the day of the event, reminding people to turn up. Now, this can be anything like this. We're talking about an event with a guest speaker, but it could be, a volunteer opportunity where you're trying to get a tree planting, things like that, all sorts of volunteer opportunities. It can come up with different ideas there for you. It's telling you to do your post recap event. Now, you could go through and say you wanted double the post, you wanted half the post, and it would go through and rewrite it again and pick the most impactful parts of that to give you that give you what you want and what you think is going to work for your club. And I think, again, it's giving you some bonus tips at the end there, things that you might not have thought about, like just reminding you to create an event on Facebook if, a Facebook event page to, ask people to actually share it. And that can be in the post, but also, if you want to maximize the reach of social media, send an email out to club members or a text out to club members, however your club communicates, and say, hey, if you've got on Facebook, get to go to this link and then hit the share button and share it further. All those sorts of things that you might not think about. Another example is, on Instagram and even Facebook, like reels and videos are becoming increasingly popular because they get wider reach, they get wider traction for whatever reason. Facebook and Instagram like videos and share them more widely potentially than a regular post. So if you want to get more impact, you might start creating video. So you could ask ChatGPT to write you a video script for an introduction to Rotary, and I'll show you what that looks like quickly here. And because we've been having the conversation, I don't necessarily need to give as much context anymore because we're keeping the conversation going so it knows what I'm talking about there. But um, we're asking it to write a script to promote the event, so it'll give you some ideas of the types of banners and what you want to might have in the background and what to actually say. So if you don't know what to say on a video, you can ask it what to say. You can give suggestions to others if you can have in more in one video, and then just record that on your smartphone or if you have a video camera, just to get some more ideas there and get some different ways to share. And just I hope it's this is helping spark some of that sort of creative mindset of one how one how you can promote your own clubs, but also how you can leverage this tool to actually achieve that as part of the process. That's all I sort of wanted to do as part of the formal presentation in terms um, of the live prompting. I do have a survey here. If people want to click on that QR code, I will share the link to the survey in the chat. That is one thing I will share tonight, so you don't have to copy that QR code if you don't want to. But I think, Kara, I'm going to leave it there for now and open it up for chats and keep prompting if we need to. But I hope that's been of value.
I think it has. I certainly think it has there, Hamish. Hamish, a question.
Yes.
You were talking about posting, and Malcolm posed the question, where are these posts going? Is there a different voice that you'll use, for example, on Facebook versus LinkedIn?
Um, that depends on your club, and it depend like again. Now we finished that, and I don't think it's really relevant to the presentation. That's fine. We don't necessarily have to share this, or you can share it. That doesn't really bother me. Let me just open up and
Mhm.
we'll
Sure.
we'll ask ChatGPT if they think you should use a different voice and see what that's.
Okay.
Then, depending on how it answers, I might have more to add to that. Bear with me a second.
No worries.
Um, okay, so yeah, so I guess I probably agree a bit with what it's saying here on the page. I'll sort of just summarize it for those that might. I don't know how big people's screens are looking if they can't read it, but I would say that the answer is sort of yes and no, and it depends on your target audience. So, yeah, you probably are getting a slightly different audience on Facebook than you are on LinkedIn. Let's face it, LinkedIn is more the platform of professionals or former professionals. So there is that slightly more formal tone, but it is also conversational. Like I wouldn't go over the top in being too formal there. Like it depends on your club and the type of member you want to attract. I would suggest that most clubs, given the amount of people that are on Facebook in Australia and globally, if you're not on both already, don't worry about being on both. Start with Facebook or keep to Facebook because you're going to get most of your audience there, and sort of keep it, on brand. You've got to think about the type of people you want. So Rotary, you want it to be that level of professionalism, and that that certain type of person in the community, obviously, that is that sort of service focus, but you still want to be able to have fun at the same time. You can be a little bit more professional on LinkedIn. You might talk about different projects on different platforms. On LinkedIn, you might talk about some of the professional development stuff that Rotary has, Ripen or maybe Ryla might be more relevant, and that's it might be more targeted at young professionals on LinkedIn that might be interested in participating in Ryla as that professional development course, or their bosses sending younger staff along to Ryla as a professional development opportunity. That still works on Facebook as well, but I wouldn't worry too much about whether you did change it or not, but you might focus on some different things if you really want to go all the way and start talking about that. And, this was just a general presentation tonight on
Mhm.
social media as a broad social media platform. So you might ask for two different content calendars, one for LinkedIn and one for Facebook, if that's what you want to do and you want to spend a little bit more time. And it may talk about the same projects. There may be some crossover, but it will probably give you some slightly different ideas just because of the type of people that are on each of those platforms and more likely to be active.
But your suggestion would be that, especially for beginners, don't don't sort of overwhelm yourself with work. Keep it simple in terms of your
Yeah,
calendar.
yeah, yeah. Don't overthink it and don't make it overwhelming. If you get excited later on and you want to start playing more and working out more things, absolutely, there can be some value there. But don't overwhelm yourself and make it too hard to get started if you haven't already sort of
Yeah.
started playing around in the first place.
Fantastic. Thanks, Hamish. Glenda, you have a question.
Hi, Caro, I've missed you. How are you? But
I'm going well,
sorry,
thank
everybody
you.
else. And hello, Hamish. Hamish and I go back to his 20 years when
Yep.
he became a group study exchange participant through my old club, Rotary Club of Keilor. And when he came back, the Rotary Club of Keilor said, "Oh, good, he's going to join us." And he went to Strathmore. But that's all right. He stayed
But
in
no
Rotary.
one, no one asked me in the Rotary Club of
I
Keilor. I got
didn't.
asked by
I know.
Strathmore. Keilor didn't ask me.
I know. I do have, as usual, two questions, but I'll only ask one at a time. Hashtags. What do you recommend? How many do you recommend? And I know you can have a gazillion of them, but what's effective?
I'd say you don't really need to use them anymore. They're not as effective as they used to be.
Whoa, thank you.
Look, it can't hurt to have a couple, but like um, the pro ChatGPT is great, but you do need to spend a tiny little bit of time editing it. Like it's getting more human and more conversational. But one of the things that ChatGPT does is usually recommend a lot of hashtags, and that can be off-putting if people know that if people are users of ChatGPT and they know that that's the type of social media stuff that because so it's almost detrimental now to have too many hashtags. If you've got a club specific one or you're doing it on Instagram, Instagram is probably the one platform where it still has some value, but on Facebook and LinkedIn, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using anything other perhaps more than Rotary or your own Rotary club because it's not going to really widen your audience. It's more what you're actually talking about and getting people. And yeah, that comes back to asking your club members to start with liking, sharing, and commenting. It's
Mm,
that's going to give you more reach than worrying about a hashtag.
yeah, it's a team game. It's a
Uh,
team game. Noel has a question about frequency of posting, and this can be a killer for young players, for new players.
Yep. Um, Consistency again is that's how long's a piece of string. The more you post, the more reach you're going to get, as long as it's of value. But if you're posting 3 times a week, you're doing better than most Rotary clubs, and you're going to get enough information out there to share. You might post more often when you've got events and stuff coming up to add posts, but the reason that Chat GPT, when you put in, you want a content calendar, suggests 3 is because, it has all the world's information at its disposal and it's gone and researched it and thought, well, this is the amount that, you know, from everything that's ever been written on the internet that we think that Rotarians will be able to consistently do if they haven't done it before, but also consistently give the best results generally across platforms. Like, again, that's a general thing. Start with some of the suggestions there, but if you want to post more often, I'm not going to stop you. It's not going to harm you unless you start posting things that aren't actually of interest. So but 3 times a week is probably a good place to start.
And does what about, say, targeting things into groups? Let's say groups that might be related to the, clean water or whatever.
Oh, look, yeah, I mean, it's not gonna like the tool's not gonna share that for you, but it can you can ask it to write whatever you want. If you like, you could say, so this Facebook post I want to share into, whether it could be I want to share into a local community group. So like I live in Strathmore. I remember the Rotary Club of Strathmore. I often share posts into the local community group about events and, sometimes general posts about joining. And I'll ask, hey, help me write a post that, promotes this event. And then, I'll share the post from the page, but with some more context, as you're making the comment in the group. So absolutely, you can ask it to write those extra things. And again, that depends on how overly officious the admins are in some of these community groups as to how often you share there. So that's something that you can sort of try pushing boundaries on until they, send you a nice message saying, hey, maybe not so often. We're happy for you to promote some stuff, but please don't do it quite as often as you do.
Fair enough. Thanks, Hamish, and thanks, Noel. Malcolm's question about Rotary being business based and questioning whether LinkedIn's better value than Facebook.
That depends on your club. I mean, if your club is mostly still business people or and not like a lot of the clubs in my area, which are recently retired, professionals, then absolutely go for it. Or if that's what you're targeting, if you're targeting um, business professionals, go for LinkedIn. Go. This will work there. This will work across platforms. Like, if that's what you want to target, tell them you want to target LinkedIn. It'll tailor posts for there, and it'll give you ideas of the types of posts um, that might resonate there. I think LinkedIn is an underutilized tool by Rotary clubs, but I would say that if clubs are starting out to get consistent first on one platform, I think that Facebook, in terms of sheer numbers, has the biggest bang for buck. If you're already fine on Facebook and you're already fine with the idea of posting, you just want to increase that impact using this tool, then absolutely jump on LinkedIn and tailor your prompts to say that you want to be on LinkedIn, and it'll give you better output you're looking for there. So yeah, I'm not saying that it isn't. What they have different advantages depending on the club.
Ah, fantastic. Thanks, Hamish. Now, Kirk from the fabulous Rotary Club of Corrigan, I'm not saying this just because I'm the RCL for the Wheatbelt in Western Australia, has a question about the paid version of ChatGPT in terms of additional functionality and value.
Uh, Yes, it does. It's probably too long to mention, but for me, I'll tell you some of the reasons that I have. Well, I mean, I use it for business, so that's the main reason I have a paid one because I use it so often. But it'll give you more um, prompting, like so you can use it more often. Now, I doubt that any Rotary Club would hit that limit, so that's probably not a reason you would put it. It does have different, what what the industry, what the businesses call models. So the way it sort of processes the information and the output that it'll give you. So you won't get the latest and greatest models unless you're using a paid account. That's not to say that you don't get great results with the free account. I'm not suggesting you pay for something yet until you've tried it. I was, I signed up for my ChatGPT account in November 2022. It was a couple of weeks after it came out. I was a massive convert then, and it had, it wasn't half as good as it is now. It improves every day. So, and the first paid offerings I had, I still found incredible value at, and you can get more than that for free now. So, um, there are benefits, but if you're just starting out and you're just playing around, you probably won't see them until you start getting into more complex deep dive stuff. Like I use this for writing website code, all sorts of things, which I don't think the average Rotary Club's going to need for their admin or their Facebook page. So I can't say that it doesn't have more functionality, but you probably don't need that functionality, at least at the start.
Fantastic. Thank you for clarifying that, Hamish. Malcolm's actually posing a question to the audience, more so, or perhaps including all of us. Who's involved with the Rotary Means Business Fellowship? I am.
I am too.
Yep. Yeah, it's good stuff here in Perth. Yeah, it's certainly worthwhile. So if you
Yeah.
want to throw a comment in there in the chat about that, that's fine. Go for it. I have a question. I have another question though. We touched on this before we started, Hamish. There's a very important initiative underway at the moment, being led by our regional membership team, and Mark
Mhm.
Huddleston in particular, and that's the this groundbreaking Fit for Purpose program where a bunch of clubs have signed up to do a 2 year revitalisation of their clubs, working with coaches and the like. I think there's about 80 clubs involved in that. Um, Now, Hamish, you've played a subject matter expert role as part of that process.
I
Um,
did, yes.
how are you seeing that project develop in terms of artificial intelligence?
As a subject matter expert, or having been asked about it, I have had a lot of people, ask me to come and speak to their clubs after giving a presentation at the initial Fit for Purpose program up in Sydney. And so I actually gave a sort of a very broad presentation there covering a few different areas where AI could be used. So like our last video, for meeting minutes and things like that, social media. I also talked about how you can use it for grant writing, and maybe that's the next video to go a little bit more in depth there. I was a little I thought social media would be the most interesting one, and we've had a lot of conversations with clubs since. It was actually the meeting minutes that was I was in the gym at the hotel the next morning and had people stop me. It was great to see other Rotarians in the gym early like I was, but we missed half our workout because we were busy talking about using AI for meeting minutes, and that made sense to me. And in every presentation since. Um, where I've talked about AI and especially meeting minutes. It's like no one joined Rotary to write meeting minutes, so anything that can sort of streamline that sort of stuff has been of interest to a lot of people. More broadly, the Fit for Purpose program I think has been um, successful. It's very much a slow burn though. Like Rotarians have been set in their way for a long time, and
Mm,
things have always been done the way they've been done. So I know that um, of the feedback from a lot of the other coaches that that are committed to working with clubs has been that those that were there and those that have gone back to their clubs as the dedicated person still motivated, still excited. Some of them have had hit a few roadblocks from members, saying, "But that's not how we do things here." And it's like I sort of say with AI, it's you can't do everything at once, but you've got to commit to at least trying and learning one thing at a time and implementing it because change doesn't it's an evolution, not a revolution. And I think look, it's been great, and I know that Mark's passionate about it, and some of the success stories coming out are already good. There are clubs that are embracing it, and they are seeing more interest, more members, and they're doing more in their local communities.
super, thanks, Hamish. Question about Rotary community groups, which is another big part of the important part of the regionalisation pilot.
Mm.
Um, Are you seeing any examples of community groups, community leaders and whatever, collaborating in terms of developing things like improved club admin or improved social media rollout? Seeing any of those green shoots yet?
I haven't seen the end results, but I've certainly seen the green shoots is probably the best way to describe it in terms
Mm,
of community leaders reaching out to ask questions, which is always a good starting point, and organize some online, Zoom meetings similar to this one, just to have. So when I say similar, not necessarily, it's less presentation, more, you know, round table discussion on
mm,
how things might work and things like that. So it's definitely people are thinking about technology and talking about technology and ways to, and I think that is, look, I think that is an important part of the process, especially to attract younger members. And I know in my own club, I am one of the younger members at 42, but let's face it, we do want members even younger than I am to come and join Rotary. And most of my peers are shocked when I talk about the fact that Paul Harris was a 36-year-old businessman when he started Rotary International, and just wanted to do business whilst serving his local community. And yeah, I think if we get back there, technology isn't going to need to be it. When I don't think we'll ever get back there, but if we want to
mm.
sort of attract that younger audience, the ability to use technology to alleviate some of the boring stuff is going to be
Mm.
what appeals to them, so they can actually focus on making an impact. And they're using these tools already in almost every aspect of their life. So it's got to become part of the process going forward.
Yeah, it's really impressive the number of, again, it's green shoots thing, the number of more senior Rotarians who are getting involved in some of these initiatives like
Mm.
artificial intelligence in terms of, telling their stories and whatever. I've seen some wonderful examples of that. Now, I want to just step slightly away from, I mean, look at why we're here tonight, and it's about improving skills and impacts in the community and whatever. Looking at the how-to, how can you, do you have any suggestions as to how clubs could improve the skills of their members in the AI? So, say for example, the AI social media space.
Mm.
How,
Uh,
how, how would you see that?
there's got to be a will to do it, and it's
Mm,
literally as simple as starting with ChatGPT, just having a conversation. Like it is ChatGPT for a reason. Like it wants you to have a conversation with it. It's and ask it, and you can start with you start with Rotary if you want to start with Rotary, but you can ask it anything. Like I use ChatGPT for many different aspects of my personal and professional life. I've had it come up with a year-long journal for a vegetable garden that I've started in my backyard, telling me when I should plant things, when I should start putting in new crops, when things are going to be ready to harvest. Um, all those sorts of things. But it's also a tool where I can take a photo, like if there's something weird on one of the leaves, take a photo of that and say, what might this mean, and what should I do to fix it? So but like that's not something that you would historically have gone to Chat GPT for a tool like Chat GPT for. You would have gone to Google, you would have asked your neighbor, you would have asked someone that you know about gardening. 20 years ago, you would have gone to the library and bought the Yates gardening book if you didn't already have one and tried to look in
yeah.
there to find out what was going on. So it's literally the limits of your imagination are what you can do with this tool. But the only way to sort of realize that is to start asking it some questions.
Mm. A question about safeguards.
Mhm.
Obviously, one of the uh, one of the points of advice that I received early on about ChatGPT was, for example, if you want it to do something with your club's financial records or whatever, it pays perhaps to not to give it the entire story.
Mhm.
That there are some things that you wouldn't actually tell ChatGPT
Mhm.
because, of course, that all goes into the system. What sort of safeguards should people just be aware of, or just what with
Yeah, look, I wouldn't necessarily. I sort of look at this in two ways, and it depends on the tool you're using. Like if most clubs are using either Google or Microsoft, no, Google Docs or Microsoft Office for parts
Mm,
of their admin, and each of them have, um, their own AI tools, which are governed by the sort of same terms and conditions of tools that clubs are using anyway. So, if as a starting point, if you're worried, stick to Google, or stick to sorry Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini. Having said that, yes, you should think about protecting personal information to a certain extent, and you shouldn't necessarily share financial data. But I would also question whether, a lot of the information you might be putting into ChatGPT, you're happily putting out in a newsletter into the public anyway. So is it
yeah.
actually really is it actually really as protected as you think it is?
Hmm.
It is a personal preference for the club. It's probably a discussion that the
Hmm.
club board should have in terms of where that comfort lies. But um, like, if you're not going to start using these tools, you are to a certain extent. Yes, put your own safeguards in place. If you're not going to use these tools to a certain extent, then you are leaving yourself behind, and other clubs in your area, that if there are other clubs in your area or other options in your area where people can leverage this technology and still make an impact, they are going to go there as well.
Fair enough. And there's a related question there from Malcolm about his office security system preventing access to ChatGPT. and what security risks are there with accessing free chat GPT?
That's probably just Malcolm's organization being overly officious with their level of security and the risk of uploading data that you might want to use as a tool there. Like it can be a problem for bigger organizations where if they've got sensitive data and someone's using Chat GPT doesn't realize that it's sharing that information because it can become part of the training model. And there were examples early on where I think it was Samsung employees were uploading data, and then some of that private information did become part of the results that other people were starting to get. So I would suggest that that's probably where Malcolm's organization, that's an issue. To his second question about Gmail being banned, if that's personal Gmail accounts, that's more likely along the lines of um, his organization not wanting people to access their personal email on work devices at work more than a security thing, given that Gmail is one of the most secure organizations in the world with massive armed guard data centers globally, and also the Google Workspace being the second biggest email service provider for corporations outside of Office 365.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hamish. And I reckon that there being no further questions in the system, it might be time for us to say thank you to Hamish for another brilliant webinar. And we have Hamish invited back to do part 3. And I think we'll give Hamish a round of applause. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Hamish, great work, mate.
Thank you.
Great work. So,
Thanks, Hamish.
on that note, folks, thank you again, Hamish, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kiro. Thanks, Hamish.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care.